Alright, today we're going to make a fairly simple feature, but it's a little more complicated than it might seem, and all it is if you fall, it will fade, blur, and fade to black, and then it'll just put you at the last point before you are falling. And this isn't reloading the level, it's just like a teleportation system, but it's great if you have a game where there's a lot of jumping puzzles and you want to kind of just reset the player without having to always reload the game or reload a checkpoint. It works even if you jump off a ledge or if you just like gently walk off a ledge, and it's timer based, so after it waits about 2 seconds before fading anything, so that way when you're making just like normal jumps nothing's going to happen, but after 2 seconds of falling it will then start fading for another 2 seconds, and it will then teleport you back to the exact spot. And it's pretty reliable because it knows for sure where it's teleporting you. You weren't falling, so it's like almost a guarantee that you'll be in a safe spot when you teleport back. So let's get into the blueprints of that. We're going to recreate this, but I'm just going to go over the blueprint here. What we're doing is we are running something on move update, which is an event that we bound on play. We're also spawning in the HUD in order to have the fade to black and blur effects. And then with these effects, we have an animation down here to fade it to black, and then an animation just to reset it to make sure everything's correct. Nothing's in this graph here, but it's just these elements, and I have a little crosshair in there as well. In terms of the blueprint, so we set that up and then bind this event, and then this event is checking, is it falling? If it's not falling, we are saving the location and rotation, the rotation of the player controller and the location of the actor. And then we're also making sure to reset a few of these systems, which get used in the actual fall resetter. So then if you are falling, it does this once, and then it will start a timer. This is a retriggerable delay, so it gets reset if it gets called again. This is important versus a normal delay because you don't want it to go through the full system after you've already landed. You want it to stop. So this gets opened up here, and then it moves along, it checks again, hey, are you still falling? And then assuming you are, it then plays this animation, which is these HUD animation right here, the fade to black. And then in addition to that, it then it resets this reset system, so that way if you land again it can stop the animation and it will play the reset animation right there. However, if that never happens, if you never stop falling, this will move along, it will wait for another 2 seconds, it will do one final check just to make sure, hey, are you sure you're still falling? And assuming it is, we will set the character's velocity to 0, and then we will move the actor's location, and we will reset the actor's rotation, which is their controller, so which way they're facing. You need this for like up and down. So for example, let's say I was looking up when I fell, and then if I look down, I think it resets that. Yeah, see, it just puts you in the exact same spot and looking in the same direction as when you started to fall. So that way the player is kind of refamiliarized. So this is particularly useful. Let's say you're like jumping and you're like looking at a spot, and it will kind of remind you like, oh, that's what I was jumping at, instead of, let's say like I look this way. You don't want the player looking backwards being like, wait, where did I respawn? You can keep them looking in the right direction. So now that we've kind of reviewed this entire system, we are going to just kind of assemble it from scratch just to make sure I haven't missed anything. There's a chance I've changed something here. So just as like a sanity check, we're just going to recreate the entire system. We are going to do it in Unreal Engine 4.27 because it's easy to migrate Unreal projects forward, but it's pretty difficult actually to migrate them backwards. It is possible, but you can't use the migration feature. You just have to like copy assets and that sort of thing. So when possible, it's good to use an older version of Unreal unless there's like a specific feature you want. Okay, we're just going to make this a first-person project. We are going to call this jump resetter video, no starter content, and we can create this project. It should load up pretty quickly since it's a blank project. I'm just going to move this over. That one we want to keep. Okay, first thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to clean out this map here. Move this down. Where did my cursor go? There it is. Weird. Okay. We're going to reset this. And then I'm going to get rid of all these lights and change these to be, we can get rid of that. Reflection. Get rid of that. Increase this. Okay, now let's make something that we can actually fall from. So I'm just going to delete the floor. I'm going to delete all these boxes. And I'm just going to drag these over like this. So we have something to jump between and a bottomless pit to make sure. We are going to just check this here. I want to check the world settings. Okay, the kill Z is only -1000. I want to fall for further, so I'm going to reset that so I fall indefinitely, basically. It's not indefinitely, of course, but it's a really far distance. So right now I should just fall basically forever. Okay, that's what we want. Now that we have that, let's go into the first person. We don't need any of this. None of these are needed. Heck, we don't even need the arms. I'm gonna slim this up a little bit. And I'm also gonna, this is in a really weird translation. I'm just gonna do, kind of even this out. Doesn't really matter. It's not gonna break anything, but, and then we also don't need any of this. This is all the VR stuff. I'm not going to use a controller, and this is also VR right here. Not needed. Okay. So this should be the basic, and the last thing I'm going to do is just disable this. I'm just going to put this in the middle, even though we're not actually going to use it, but that's okay. Okay, there we go. Blank character. Okay, I'm just going to do Control-Shift-S just to save everything. So, since we have a nice template here, I'm going to make I'm going to start with the widget actually. So user widget right here, and we're just going to call this player HUD. And this is going to need a few things. The first thing we'll need, we already have our canvas panel here. And then the other two are just going to be images. So this one is just going to be this. And we can reset these. And then these numbers we can zero out. And then we just change it to black. And we will just call it black, since this is what we are going to fade. Another one that is not necessary at all, but I kind of like it. I'm gonna add the crosshair actually. And the crosshair I just put in the very center. And the position is going to be 0 on both of these, and I'm just going to give it a size of 3 like this, and then we're also going to set the offset to 0.5, 0.5 like this. Okay, I think this video will probably take 40 minutes. And then the one that's not necessary is I like a blur. I think it adds nicely to the effect. And I'm just going to make that nice and big, like the black one. Just like that. Okay. If we add this, so let's start by, we'll create the begin play. Begin play. Create widget right there, and we can grab this, put it in the player HUD. This wants the controller, so player controller right there, and then we're going to make a reference of this, and we're just going to call this HUD_ref _ref. Just like that. And then we are going to add this viewport, add to viewport right there. That's exactly what we want. If we spawn in, it's just going to be straight up black because we haven't adjusted the opacity or anything. So the opacity is pretty simple to set. So if we click the black one there, the opacity is right here, A, so put that to 0. And what's the background blur? I think that's also set to 0. So that just gives us a crosshair, but there's nothing. So now that we have that done, we need to do 2 more things in the HUD, which is set up our animations, or 2 additional animations. So the first animation we're just going to call fade to black, like that. And we are going to have a few things we're going to want to reference. First thing, we are going to pull in the background blur. Let's open that animation up. There we go. Should be blank. And let's add background blur. Yes, just like that. And then we're going to want to add some tracks. We're going to do blur strength, and then we're also going to do a visibility one as well. So non-hit tessellate, the default of the background blur actually, we'll keep it enabled. So the blur strength initially, the way I like to do it, I'm going to make a 2-second animation, so we can drag this one down to 2 seconds. So for the blur strength, I'm going to go ahead and add a keyframe. I'm going to go to 0.5. I'm going to add an additional keyframe, and then I'm going to go to 2, and I am going to change this to 1, like that. So over the course of 0.5, actually I'm changing it to 9. I'm sorry. The opacity will change to 1, the blur strength. So you can see it gets quite blurry. You can even see it in the viewport. I'm sure YouTube compression makes that a little weird, but you can see it starts to blur over that. It gives that nice sense of falling effect. Okay, so we have the background blur. The one that really is going to matter though, we can add track. We can add the black in right there, and the only one we need to animate for the black is the Keller and opacity, which is right there. We do want to drag this just right there, basically. What's going on here? I'm going to delete that real quick. Okay, I'm going to re-add this. I was on the, okay. Color and opacity. And the initial, these we can all keep the same. And this one is a lot more straightforward. We just add a keyframe here for 0, move this to the end of the 2 seconds, and then we are going to change this to 1. So you notice it starts to get blurry and also fade to black, which is exactly what we want. One other thing that we can do is we can rearrange the Z order here. So we can move the black up a Z order if you want it to cover the crosshair as it fades. I don't even think I have that in the other one. I think it just happened to be in the right Z order. But if we don't want to leave that to chance. And then the other animation we're going to make, we're just going to call reset. Just so we have like an easy way to kind of set things how we want. This will be a 1-frame animation. It's going to go make sure to click on it, and we're going to add the same to, we're adding the background blur, and we're adding the black. And this one, same stuff, but we'll actually make the background blur's default collapsed. So we are going to do visibility and blur strength. So blur strength we put to 0, visibility we have as collapsed, and then the color and opacity we can leave these as the same since we just want it to be 0. And actually we can put this to be collapsed as well. And the visibility here is collapsed. Fade to black, where I'm going to add the visibility there as well, and we are going to set it to non-hit, which is another form of visible. It's just a fancy, it means you can't click on it since it's not a UI element. That doesn't matter, but it's going to be visible. So that's what we want to set it to. It also strangely affects performance to do non-hit versus visible. I remember reading that at one point. I haven't tested it though, so just an old habit. Okay, so we have our HUD. We have those 2 animations. If you really want to test them, see like, hey, is this working? What you can do is grab your HUD, and then you can have it play an animation. So play animation like this, and then to get the animation, I think we can just do fade, get fade to black, and let's see if this works. In terms of settings here, this is, you can leave all this the same, forward, normal. So this should just start the game and it fades. So your animation is working correctly there. And just to check the other one, we'll grab the reset animation. And we know this takes 2 seconds to play, so we will just put a delay here for 2.2 seconds. So it will trigger just after the other animation is done. So it should fade to black and it resets. Exactly what we want. Okay. Okay, we can leave these since we will need them later, but we just don't need them now. Okay. Now that we have our HUD and those animations done, we can bring in the actual fall resetter. So let's bind this event. So you can actually just look for it, bind event, and then we should do movement. And what we want is bind event on character movement update. So this is going to be close to on tick, but it's a bit more specific to the movement. And then all we need to do is create a custom event, and then we just move update. You can call this whatever you want. Okay. Now that we have that, I'm going to, we might make a macro. It's fine. This isn't too. I'm just holding down B and making a little branch. And that's going to be your first check. Is this falling? We are going to have this 2 other times. So I'm going to just kind of roughly lay these out just so I don't have to move them later. This one's down here. This one's going to be about here. And then this is falling is going to be just before this one. And then there's going to be another one at the very end, right before the teleport. Okay. For this one, though, in order to make this work, we have to save some values when you're not falling, so you know where the player was before it's falling. By the way, we can turn off all these, since we don't have a controller or gun in this player. So this one I'm just going to call location. Let's be a little bit more specific. Players old location is what we'll call it. And this will be a vector. And then the next one we will call players old rotation, like that, which will be a rotator. So the location is pretty simple. Do Alt and drag it. This is just going to be the actor's location. Get actor location, just like that. The rotation is going to be slightly more complicated, not too bad though. And we are going to get the controller, which we actually grabbed right here. And then we're going to get this rotation. Get controller, rotation, just like that. Which is both the actor's rotation, but in addition to that, the controller rotation also has your pitch, how far up and down you're looking, which is not stored in just the actor's rotation. And in my version, I want that to work. After this, we are going to do a few things, but that will come later. I'm just going to attach that there for now, since we need to set up everything else for it to be relevant. The first one we can set up though, which is just going to be a do once, since when you fall, we don't want to keep like starting the counter. As soon as you start falling, you want to start counting from then, and you don't want to count more after that until you land again. So that's what this is like, hey, once you land again, once you're not falling again, not falling, which is the same as staying, just landed. Go ahead and reset this so that way if you do fall again, you can start counting again. Okay, but if that is true and we've done it once, this is where retriggerable delay, and I'm just going to set this to 2 seconds. You're welcome to set that to whatever you want, of course. I like 2 seconds. It seems to be just about right amount of time for me. And then we are going to set up a gate here. And it's like, if this passes, then enter the gate. But to make sure we can actually get in the gate, we are going to first have it. Logically, I think it would probably make more sense to do it this way. First we open the gate and then we wait to see if we can get through. It's not going to matter though, since there's a delay here, of course. This is where the second one will go. So this will go here, and hey, close that gate if you land again. Okay, after this, I'm just going to check again, because this is a fairly simple check that is falling. So I'm just gonna be, hey, are you still falling? And if you are, keep going. And this is where we start to fade. So remember, this is the fade to black animation that we tested earlier. And then we will basically do almost the exact same setup. If we were trying to be super efficient, we could probably set up like a macro or something, but it's not going to be too big a deal. But we can just grab this entire system and paste it right here. Even the 2-second delay, because we want it to be a 2-second delay again. And then this one, you can, in the same way it's set to close there, I will set it to close there. Just like that. And then after the final is falling check, we are going to do the teleportation system, which is just resetting the actor. So we're gonna grab the character movement. We'll reset the, let's see, velocity. It'll be down here, set velocity, and we'll just leave it to 0. I'm actually going to not set this up, and I'm going to show you what happens when you don't do that correctly, why we reset the velocity. This will actually be down here. And then we will set the actor's, set actor location. Just like this. You can set it to teleport. That's more of a physics thing. It doesn't actually, like, it will still teleport even if you don't check that though. Let's see here. Set control. Oh, here. Set rotation. Let's just do controller rotation. I think we have to. Sure, I'm misspelling something. Oh, controller rotation. Where is this one? Let's just grab the player controller real quick. Get player controller, set rotation. Yeah, there we go. I don't know why it wasn't showing up. Maybe I was spelling it wrong. And then we can just put in the rotation we gathered before, right there. Okay. I'm gonna test it in a moment, but the last one, where is it? Right here. So this will be here, which is do once, which will get reset with this one, and actually this goes here. Because whenever you land, if you're what this is for is if you're fading to black and then you land, you want it to the fade to black to go away and to stop it from teleporting. Which is going to be before we do this, we actually want to we can grab these two actually, and we want to stop animation right there, this fade to black animation, because what will happen is I'm almost certain it tries to play both if you don't stop this animation here. And then the last thing not last thing probably, but I'm just going to check these. So this one should be start as closed. I think the other ones, I think they all but this one starts as closed. So this one starts as closed, this one does not. That one starts as closed as well. Okay, yeah, that is correct. So remember, I didn't set the velocity, but let's test this. So if we move and see how I'm continuing to go forward, it fades. And let's see if we get reset. I don't think it did. Oh, because I'm still falling. So here, to really illustrate what's going on, I'm gonna bypass this animation. I know exactly what's going on though, I think. So if I'm moving, see, I'm falling, 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 and then I just immediately fall again because I still have the velocity. I wonder if we stop though. Oh, but we never stop falling, so it's not going to fade a second time. So that's why you want to stop the velocity to kind of like put the player right in the spot where they stopped. So there we go. We got the fade to black, fade, 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 and then back where we started. And this works in any position. So let's say we walk over the edge here, looking forward, fades, we're looking around, same spot. So there you go. I'll just kind of review this. This is a fairly simple kind of fall resetter, great for a first-person jumping puzzle game. So that way your player is a bit less frustrated if they don't make a jump. Of course, you can make a game that's intentionally frustrating if you miss jumps, but this is in case you don't want to do that. And that's all I have for today. If you, again, normally, if you have any questions, feel free to throw them in comments. I also do have a Discord now. It's fairly simple, but I do take questions and even share like assets from these videos if you're like looking into them yourself. And I'll catch you later.